Everybody's always looking for ways to make money in RuneScape, but you could also probably change a few things in the way that you play to save a lot of money as well. This way, the money that you do get actually goes further or lasts longer, and so you either don't have to spend as long making money, or you just end up with more overall, which is obviously a win-win. So in this video, we're going to go through ways that you can save a little bit of extra GP while playing the game to keep your GP around a little bit longer. So with that being said, let's go. First of all, we have the perk from the Invention Cape. Now, the 99 version of the Invention Cape actually gives you a perk that is going to provide a 2% charge drain reduction when it is active. This means if you put this on your max Cape perks, one of the 3 perks that you actually get, you'll end up saving quite a bit of money over time, depending how often you're PVMing and all this sort of stuff. Because if it's saving the divine charge that you use to actually take advantage of your perks, then 2% is, while it's small to begin with, when you're playing hours and hours and hours on end and playing a lot of PVM and taking advantage of those perks, you are going to end up saving yourself quite a lot of charge in the long run. So I do believe this is one of the best things to have on your max Cape. So if you're not using this, then maybe you should be, because it could save you a decent amount of GP. Next up is making sure that you have a actual keybind for your god books or whatever, your scrimshaws, whatever you're using in your pocket slot. This is going to save you a lot of GP, especially if you're using a grimoire, because it just means it's a lot easier for you to toggle this on and off. You just see I've got a number 5 here. You'll see it come on, toggle it off just by using the keybind, and you're more likely to remember this probably if you have a keybind that you actively use as well. You can toggle it on right before you need it in a boss fight, and then toggle it off as soon as you are done. There's no forgetting, and you get as much time saved from this as possible. Now, one extra tip with this is if you actually take off anything from your pocket slot, and then you drag the icon itself, as you can see, I can move this around here, and then you put that in where you want to keybind it, anything that now goes in that slot will suddenly become the actual keybind that you're using. So I've got my Wen book in there right now, and then when I equip the grimoire, it's going to change over to the grimoire. So having this keybind is going to end up saving you a decent amount of GP if you are someone who's like me, who forgets to do this a lot. Like I leave this on a lot. Anyone who watches my streams will know that I forget this a hell of a lot. So having the keybind has definitely helped me out with that. While it is something that I still forget, it's definitely made me remember it a lot more than I used to. Let's just put it that way. Number 3 is something that you should absolutely be taking advantage of when you get the chances, because it saves you so much money. And that is going to be whenever double experience comes around, which I believe is 4 times a year now, so once every quarter, you are able to save tons of money by stocking up on PVM supplies during this event. Wait a couple of days so it gets a little bit along, and wait for the prices of stuff that people are making for experience to actually drop, because the prices do drop a hell of a lot because people are selling their items off instantly so that they can get the money back to then reinvest that into getting more skills. People aren't patient with this because they're on a clock. They've got a certain amount of time and they want to take advantage of it while they have it. So people will craft these things. For example, vulnerability bombs will go from a decently high price just before double XP, and then they will crash down for during double XP because people are making them for the really good herblore XP that they offer, and then they will sell them off instantly to then buy more supplies to craft even more. With the amount of players that are doing this, the prices drop quite a lot, and this also spreads out to many other potions and supplies as well. People are cooking things like rocktails, they're cooking things like the blubber jellyfishes, they're fishing extra things. There's a lot of people doing many different things and putting more supplies into the market, and so when double XP is actually live, if you have a good amount of GP ready and you're a PVMer and you know that you're going to be using a lot of these supplies, buy them up during double experience. You can actually check on the graphs of the Grand Exchange to see if these items are affected that you're thinking about buying. For example, if you look at vulnerability bombs, you'll see that they take a dip on the actual Grand Exchange graph whenever double experience does go active. So this is the best time to buy them. And a lot of other items are very similar, so do take advantage of it. Quick interruption to the video to remind you guys, if you're enjoying this sort of content, check that you are also subscribed. A lot of you guys who think you're subbed probably aren't as well, and also if you're a new person watching, I post a lot of content for RuneScape, so click that button also. And finally, if you want to support the channel that bit extra as well, while also getting a bit of extra content, you can check out the Patreon link in the description, and that supports the channel an absolute ton, but also I'll be posting some regular Patreon-only content there very soon as well. So for all you current Patreon subs, you will be getting, once again, some Patreon-only videos coming again very, very soon. That being said, let's get back to the video. Moving on, and actually still speaking about supplies, we may as well throw this one in here as well. If you're someone who's been doing PVM a lot and most of your costs and kind of GP that you're spending is going on supplies, like for example, if you are doing a lot of bosses, you're going to be eating through food and going through potions and all this sort of stuff pretty quickly. But there's going to be some places that you've kind of gotten a little bit more comfortable with. For example, if you're someone who's done 3 Raksha kills, you're going to end up going and taking the best supplies that you can while you're learning, right? And then when you've got more comfortable with Raksha, you'll probably notice that you don't really use anywhere near as much supplies or food. At this point, you could then swap out items like blue blubber jellyfish that a lot of people will be using for green blubber jellyfish. On screen is the difference in price between a blue blubber jellyfish and a green blubber jellyfish as of right now. Obviously, this could change at some point, but these are always very different in price. And so if you're eating like even just 1 or 2 of these during a kill, because even if you only use like 1 or 2 pieces of food during a Raksha kill, or maybe you normally don't use any, but you may use 1 in a random kill because something went wrong, right? If you are using that on a green blubber jellyfish and doing a lot of kills, eventually you're going to end up saving yourself quite a lot of money. If you can get away with not needing that much extra healing and you are still using blue blubbers, swap them out to green blubbers, you'll make a big difference in terms of savings. The same goes for anywhere if you're using super brews on maybe something that you've just started learning and it's something that's quite difficult. Swap the super brews out for regular Saradomin brews again and save yourself a bit of extra money there too. Another thing you can take advantage of that a lot of people that don't do, and I'm one of them, is if you get a drop from a boss and it's any bot, it could be any drop, it doesn't have to be necessarily a rare drop, just any loot whatsoever. You want to sell it off because you want your money, right? You want to get the money, you want to see how much you made that hour. You should really take patience and slow sell this stuff if you can. Now this is easier to do with the common drops because say for example you had a big massive stack of Dragonkin bones from Karapak. What you can do is you can instantly buy 1 of the Dragonkin bones from the Grand Exchange and see what you bought it for. This means that if you list your whole stack on there for the exact same price or 1 less if you want to, you can then slow sell those on a little bit longer time duration, but they will slowly sell, whether it's overnight or whether it's like over a couple of hours or whatever. You're going to make a bit of extra GP from doing this than rather than just dumping it in the Grand Exchange and dropping it by 5 or 10% and then selling it off to whoever is instantly buying them. Now, while this may seem like, don't be silly, it's like 50k, 100k, the amount of times that you do this over time is going to add up probably quite a bit. Consider the people that just spend the entire time just flipping on the Grand Exchange. They're buying low and selling high. That is exactly what they are taking advantage of. And if they're making a big amount of money off of it, you can probably save a good amount of money from taking advantage of it as well. The same goes for any rare drops as well though. Now this is a little bit more difficult because obviously you don't know the buy and sell prices and you can't just instantly buy one because then you could end up losing GP on it anyway. But if you know a rough price range, just chuck it in the Grand Exchange and see if it sells and then drop the price slowly over time. Use Ellie or something to see what the rough range is, and then don't just insta sell it from like -10, -15, -20 until it goes, and just slowly drop the price until it actually sells and get the most money from it that you can. Something else you guys can do is take advantage of auto alchers. Auto alchers are something that a lot of players do not use, and you definitely should be. If you are doing any sort of PVM once again, or I think even clue scrolls as well will give you things that you can put in here. I could be wrong, I don't do clues, but either way, if you're getting anything that is like salvage or any sort of like bolts or anything like that alchs for higher value than the Grand Exchange, you can put these in your auto alchers in the Invention Guild. Now don't get me wrong, the auto alcher has a pretty decently high requirement to actually use, but if you're getting more GP from alching stuff, then you should put them in here. They'll alch while you're offline and everything, and you can come back and collect the GP later. You aren't going to be able to get the instant amount of GP like you would on the Grand Exchange, but if you put in like a massive stack of salvage and then you just leave it and come back the next day, you can grab that GP out of there and you would have made maybe a couple of mil more depending on how much you've put in there. Either way, you're going to profit more than just selling it directly on the Grand Exchange because the high alch value is higher. If you've got any salvage or anything like that, make sure to take advantage of these as they are going to turn you a bigger profit. However, if you see myself selling these on stream and then you guys are like, Edit, you just made a video about this. Guys, sometimes it makes more sense for me to do this because then you guys can see how much I made rather than me going, okay, well, I'm going to put them in here. And so that's kind of why I do that. I also use the auto alchers, but sometimes I'll just sell the loot on stream so you guys can instantly see how much. Next up is something that is going to save you GP on death. And honestly, I do not have this. I need to get it, and at some point I will get it, maybe on the next double XP or something like that. But if you are someone who's PVMing and you use incense sticks, which if you're PVMing, you should use incense sticks. They are really, really helpful. If you die, you will lose the actual bonus from the incense sticks and have to reapply it. So it can be quite pricey. These things aren't cheap, and depending on which ones you're using, and honestly, it adds up a lot. However, if you go to the Garden of Carid, you can open the Psychic's shop and you can actually buy yourself a buff that will allow you to not lose incense sticks effects on death. The buff itself is actually called Everlasting Incense. Once you've actually grabbed yourself that, whenever you have these effects on and then you die, they won't disappear, saving you a lot of money over time. I need to get this because I died too much when I'm streaming, and so I would save probably quite a bit of GP, because incense sticks are definitely worth it. And if you're someone who puts off using them because of the cost, and then you're like, but if I die, I'm going to lose them, grab this buff. It'll absolutely make them 100% worth it, and then you get the full duration as well. Final way for this video is actually again related to incense sticks. Look at that, that's pretty convenient, right? Anyway, if you use the Lantadime incense sticks, you can extend the duration of your potion timers. Now, this isn't always worth doing. However, I'll link them on the wiki in the description, and then you can actually go there and see the calculator that'll tell you which combination of potions is worth using at the time to save a little bit of GP. Usually the way it works is if you're using an aggression potion in any sort of form, and then you're also using like an overload or anything else with it, you tend to actually save a little bit of GP for using the Lantadime incense sticks, because you're extending the duration of such an expensive potion, being the aggression potions. You do tend to end up saving a little bit of GP on those. But if you're using it on just an overload and like a weapon poison, it doesn't tend to save you GP, but it can save you time. For example, if you are trying to make the most out of your overloads, you can extend them and then not have to make them as often, I suppose, so you could save yourself a bit of time in the long run, which then translates into money, I suppose, as well. But if you're going to use these, check out on the wiki if they are worth it, and then you can go from there. And there we go. There's a few ways that you can save yourself a bit of extra GP while playing the game, which means it'll all rack up and then you'll all be billionaires by the end of the week, right? Either way, I hope you guys found this useful. If you did, make sure to click the sub button. I'll be making much more stuff like this, of course, as always. And hopefully, who knows, we'll end this year with like 45,000 subs or something like that. Would be pretty crazy. With that being said, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.